Staying motivated isn't easy, and we all run out of motivation at times. If you wait to always be motivated, you'll never get the health and happiness you dream of and deserve.
So in this episode, we share what's really going on when you lose your momentum and our tips on how to stay the distance. Hi, I'm James Davis.
And I'm Claire Davis.
We're the Midlife Mentors, here to lift the lid on how to achieve health and happiness.
The balanced, no-nonsense way.
Hello, James here.
And Claire, welcome back to the Midlife Mentors podcast. It's wonderful to have you here as always.
Another episode. So, if you listen to this in real time, we are now post-Christmas, post-New Year. It just flew by. That feels like a long time ago already.
Doesn't it? Crazy.
But if you're in the UK at least, I did see a meme this morning going, well, that week's been a long year. It's been an interesting start. I know in fact, I think all of the UK and Ireland now is in lockdown. I think a lot of other European countries going a similar way. So, our hearts go out to you. And what we're going to be talking about today actually is really relevant to these times, which is motivation.
Yeah, guys, just to reiterate what James has said there, it's really, really important that we have structure and routine and connection in our world right now, which is why James and I started the Midlife Mentors community group on Facebook in the first place. To share, obviously, our approach and our enthusiasm and our passion with you. But right now, it's becoming a really beautiful place where everyone's really supporting each other. So, as always, I'll drop that in the show notes, a link to that. It's completely free to join. And we would love to see you in there. We'd love to support you. We do things like coffee mornings every Sunday where you can just join. You can either be there asking questions or just lurk in the background. There's no pressure, but it's just a way to make sure that you stay as resilient as possible in body, mind and soul right now.
Yeah, that community is growing really well, isn't it?
So rapidly. It's amazing. I think it's, it's word of mouth, but also the piece that we had in The Observer the other day. I think that's really helped. And obviously the podcast is spreading the word as well, which is just wonderful, and we're so grateful.
Yes, please tell all your friends about the podcast. We've seen the listens go up and up and up, so thank you if you are listening.
Exactly. So, Mr. D, we are talking today about motivation, and what time to talk about it, because as James said, it's the beginning of a new year. So, oftentimes we'll make these resolutions, hate that word, resolutions, but then really quickly motivation dives and we fall off the wagon, and then we beat ourselves up and we're in the same place again the year after and the year after. But also because of lockdown, we're going to need motivation more than ever.
True.
To keep ourselves focused towards where we want to go and what the person we want to be when we come out of all of this.
Exactly that. And listen, motivation, no one's saying this isn't about just false positivity, rah.
No.
So we're definitely not saying that, we don't want you to feel pressure to achieve something or go and do, what we're talking about here is, thinking to yourself, what positive steps can I take in my life to feel better about myself, to cope with the situation better? And knowing those steps, realising that it's not going to be easy every day to do them. So how do I keep motivated to keep moving towards them?
Yeah, and just on that, it is really, really okay to feel what you're feeling as well. So there's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no pressure. Just allow yourself to feel the way you're feeling, but also at the same time, don't let that slide too much. Make sure that you are doing what you can do, what is in your control to make sure that you come out of this in a positive fashion.
Exactly. So, if we all had motivation all the time, of course, life would be easy because we could achieve anything with no problem at all. But there's a lot of research out there that says our willpower is actually a finite resource, and different ones of us have different amounts of willpower for different reasons. So, liken it, like my metaphor is like a reservoir that drains through the day. There's a lot of research around this that willpower is lower later in the day. Simply because the demands of modern life mean that you're using it all the time. You're using it to resist having those biscuits in the morning. You're using it to resist reacting to that email. Using it through your day. So by the time you get home at night can be when you're just like, oh, sod it, I'm going to have that box of chocolates, glass of wine, whatever.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say that we all run out of motivation at times in our lives. Listen, if we waited to feel motivated and always feel motivated towards moving towards our goals, we would actually never get there. We have to do the things we don't want to do when we don't want to do them. We have first-hand experience of this ourselves. Not so much with working out, pretty much most of the time. It's quite a rare thing where I do get up and think, oh, I can't really be bothered. But, there are certain things in the business that I love to do, and there are certain things, owning your own business, that you don't love to do. But actually, waiting for motivation to do those things is absolutely pointless. And actually, as you grow in confidence doing those things, and you do them more frequently, it becomes easier and easier to get to do them because you're growing in confidence.
Yeah, weirdly, getting started is often the hardest part of success. Actually making those first steps. And once you do start making them and you're consistent with them, then you'll find it becomes second nature. And here's the thing: the more we can start to train our subconscious to achieve what we want to achieve, the less we're going to have to rely on willpower. And then we can start turning our motivation to achieve other things as well.
Yeah, it has a really positive impact on other areas of your life. So especially doing the thing that you don't necessarily want to do, actually just proves to yourself, you're so proud that you're doing the things and you're gaining momentum doing the things you don't want to do. That actually starts kind of overflowing into other areas of your life. So you just become a more successful person in general, achieving the things that you never thought that you could achieve.
Yeah, there's a couple of things going on there. First one is, don't underestimate, we always say this, the power of momentum. So even small steps. I always use my favourite metaphor of the locomotive train, right?
You always use this one, it's really sweet.
I know, even going relatively slowly, that locomotive can smash through a thick concrete wall. But that same locomotive, if it stopped and you just put little blocks of wood in front of the front wheels, it's not going to go anywhere, even when it's like fully fired up. So don't underestimate, even taking the small steps every day, momentum will keep carrying you forward. And the other thing is, when we do that, like Claire was saying, and we start moving in one direction, we start building our belief and our self-belief, and then we believe that we're capable of more and we can achieve more.
Well, it's that whole thing about self-identity. I'm a motivated person. I do what it takes to get me to where I want to get to. I sometimes do the things that I don't want to do. In fact, I do the things I don't want to do because I know success is at the other end. One of the questions that we actually answered the other day, because we get asked this all the time, why don't I have motivation? Well, here's the thing. As we always say about statements and positive statements, if you are telling yourself that story over and over again, guess what's going to be your reality? You are not going to be a motivated person. So I would ask you this question right now. Ask yourself this all the time. What would a motivated person think? What would a motivated person do? And have a think about those. And when that motivation is draining out, just think, what would a motivated person do right now? And what would a motivated person be thinking right now? Because that is what you need to train your subconscious mind to think, is that yes, it's difficult sometimes, but that is not an indicator to stop. It's actually an indicator to be consistent, to keep moving forward, because that is what wins the day, consistency.
Exactly. I actually was saying this to a client the other day. I said, I get those days, those moments where I'm saying, I can't be bothered, I can't face it today. And then the question I'll ask myself in my head is, okay, well, if I don't, what is the cost of my inaction.
Beautiful.
Like, what is the cost of my inaction versus the benefit of me actually taking the action that I know is carrying me forward? And that is always enough to get me up and moving and doing what I need to do.
And it will get easier, it will. So one of the things we're going to talk about as well is the two types of motivation. We've got extrinsic and we've got intrinsic. So extrinsic is the motivators that are put on you by outside forces. So this could be something, if we've been in the work environment, a corporate environment, someone saying, do this, do that, and you'll earn X amount of money, or do this, do that, because this is for the greater good for the company. The intrinsic ones are the ones that are aligned with your values and who you really are and the truth of who you really are, which is why we always work on the motivator of why. Why you deeply, deeply want to achieve the thing that you've set out to achieve. How is it going to make you feel? What is it going to give your life? What's the sense of achievement you're going to feel? Like, why? And here's the thing, we say this about when we do vision setting, and if you listen to the podcast last week, we did it on vision setting. So it's like peeling a layer of an onion each time, just saying why. That is your motivator. It is the emotional connection that will keep you consistent.
Yeah, I can't emphasize that enough. That emotional connection to your why is so important.
It's imperative, isn't it?
Because without it, you need to question why would you even be going for the goal if you haven't got like a big emotional driver to succeed, if it's intrinsic motivation.
Yeah, well, I used to have that. In a career I really didn't suit. And, I was being given all these goals and these targets, and that's why I still do cringe at the whole SMART acronym when we set goals. But, it's because they weren't mine. They weren't mine, and I didn't feel emotionally connected to them. So, actually, I'd always miss the mark.
Yeah, I had it doing my psychology degree to be like, why haven't you done your statistics workshop? I'm like, because intrinsically, I hate statistics.
There's no emotional why. There's a more emotional why to go out drinking beer with my mates.
Exactly. So listen, there's three components. Aside from the why, the emotional connection, three components to motivation, three major components. There's the activation, which is identifying the need, which is tied with that emotion. There's persistence, which is, every day taking those steps, being consistent on moving forward. And there's intensity, the amount of effort you put in. So obviously someone that is highly motivated is very consistent and persistent and brings intensity and effort to what they're doing is going to have a greater chance of success than someone that's not that emotionally invested in it, kind of does a couple of days, leaves it a month, does a couple of days, and when they are doing it, doesn't really put a lot of effort in. So think about that. Think about your why, how persistent you can be, and also the effort/intensity you want to put into achieving your goal.
So just one other thing that we're going to say before we go into some tips, like we always do, we always leave you with some juicy tips at the end, is that really, guys, you need to be patient with all of this stuff. Nothing comes quickly that's worth waiting for. We know this so very, very well. Unfortunately, we live in a society that's all about quick fixes and getting to the goal really quickly. It is just not... It's not possible to get there really super quick. And actually, here's what I would say. The person you're becoming as you're getting there is what it's all about anyway. If you're getting there too quickly, the person you are hasn't actually had time to catch up with where you're going to get to. So you need to do everything slowly in incremental steps so that your self-identity and your self-belief has a chance to align and catch up.
Yeah, I was going to say that. So it's about the journey as well as the destination.
Absolutely. So we are going to go into some little tips right now. One of the first ones is take one day at a time. So, especially with what's going on in the world right now, please be gentle with yourself. Just break down the goal that you have into small incremental steps and just do it slowly. Actually, do the whole SMART acronym. Break it down to be specific, measurable, realistic and timely, but just allow yourself some slack.
Surround yourself with positivity. It's really easy, especially at the moment, to let too much negativity into your life. There's a lot of bad news out there, fear-based messaging. when you've got your goal, surround yourself with positive people that are going to lift you up and positive messaging around it to basically bolster your own mindset.
Absolutely. One of the other things that we love as well is to create a vision board. So if anyone's done any of the stuff that we've put out there on visioning for 2021, one of the things that we say is creating that vision of where you're going. So actually using your imagination to create the vision of where you are going is so powerful. James and I do this every morning. We vision where we are going in our imagination as if we are there, because your body is responding to those signals. And the way you can also do that is to create a vision board. So to create some images of where you're going in your life, what goal it is you have, and just keep looking at that every single morning and throughout the day. Just keep reminding yourself of why you are doing these things to keep you motivated.
The next two kind of really interlinked. The first is, don't forget to reward yourself. Our subconscious is going to try and pull us to the path of least resistance and back to the familiar. Growth is hard. So when you do achieve, do make sure you reward yourself. Because we're motivated, basically, two main drivers of human behaviour are to move towards pleasure or away from pain. Chances are, if you're needing to use your willpower, there's some pain involved. The process is hard in some way. So remember to give yourself the pleasure with a small reward along the way. And this in turn will also reinforce in your subconscious that you're starting to believe in yourself more if you celebrate the small wins.
I really struggled with that. So for a really long time, actually it was really bad about 2 years ago when we were kind of really building the online stuff. We were doing all the tech, we were doing everything, and I wasn't taking, and I know James wasn't either, we were not taking those really nourishing, nurturing breaks for ourselves, like little snacks of nurturing in the day, to actually just go, you know what, it's not all about working towards a goal, it's actually about rewarding ourselves when we're taking those steps to get there.
Totally. Acknowledge your positive attributes. So it's easy to become fixated on, what you haven't done, what you felt you should have done.
What you're not.
Instead, focus on what you are achieving and the good steps forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And that goes into also recognising your progress. So make sure that you are recognising how far you have come, because you're doing a great job, all of you. All of you are doing a great job. And be kind to yourself, and also finally, be kind to yourself. And finally, don't compare yourself to others. Comparison is the thief of joy. We are seeing everyone's highlight reels. Everyone is saying, oh, this is my perfect life, this is how I achieved this, these are the steps I got to da. You are on your own journey. That is the only thing that matters. When the chips are down, that you are fulfilling your own life's purpose, you are singing your own song. Please shut out the noise of everyone else and everything else and focus on your own health and happiness. Because the world needs more people like that. The world needs more of what you can offer, and you've got your own unique way of offering that. So please stop comparing yourself to others. It's a really painful thing to do, and we must try to stop that as much as we can.
Totally. There's one last thing I'd like to add in, and this comes from the psychology and from NLP, which is visualize accomplishing your goal. So in NLP we call this future pacing. We like to call it future rehearsal. So this will actually help bring your goal to life and the emotions around achieving your goal to life. So
I kind of touched on this already, Mr. D, but go on, carry on.
With the vision board, it's very important you bring the emotion into it. So you see yourself having achieved your goal at that point in the future, but you really go into as much detail with that as you can. Like, what are you wearing? What are the smells around you? Who's around you? Where are you? Use familiar places so you've got familiar cues to make it easier. But go into how you feel. If it's like a body goal, when you look in the mirror and see yourself, how does that feel? And our subconscious doesn't recognise the concept of linear time. So when we do this future rehearsal, we're actually putting ourselves in that state now.
Absolutely. Yeah, going into a bit more detail there, because it's so powerful to do that for yourself. A lot of the time we use our imagination, our beautiful imagination, to imagine all the terrible things that could happen, built up through our beliefs and our memories and all those sorts of things. But actually we have forgotten how to use our imagination to really visualize where we're going and connect to the feeling place of that. So what James has said there is something that has completely revolutionised me personally moving towards my goals and carrying on feeling motivated towards them, is visualising all of that great stuff, how I feel, what I look like, what's going on, how I'm able to serve other people at a higher level. So super powerful, and thank you for sharing that with us, James, because hopefully that's a great way to end this podcast episode on motivation. I will reiterate, do what you can at the moment, okay? Take some of the pressure off, but make sure that you do have a roadmap of where you are going, and understand that motivation is finite. You are not always going to feel it, but consistency wins the day. Even doing little tiny things towards your goal will just keep that momentum of motivation going.
I want to say, if you'd like to boost your motivation, I'm going to cheeky plug it. If you'd like to boost your motivation, and have an accountability group and feel supported, then do come join our free Midlife Mentors community on Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is honestly for all of you to connect with us. You know us by now. We like to have a laugh. We like to be, rude to each other and have a little bit of banter. But also, the strategies we offer you aren't woo-woo. They are really, really easy to implement. And, we know from experience they've really, really helped transform the lives of the people they've touched. So we would love to offer that to you. It is completely free from our heart to yours.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. We're sending you so much love, and we can't wait to see you on a workshop, in our group, or on the next podcast.
Absolutely. Lots of love, guys. Bye.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the Midlife Mentors with Claire and James Davis.
We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line at info@themidlifementors.com with any questions or topic suggestions.
And make sure you join us on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. You can find us under The Midlife Mentors.
Yeah.